Good morning, guys. Welcome to this morning, April 2nd, Wednesday, April 2nd. And today we're going to get all the tariff announcements. It's going to be one exciting day. It's going to happen probably midday. Hasn't been too many leaks about that, but it's going to be it's going to be an interesting day to see when this whole thing gets advertised or announced. See what it is, and then we're going to see all the responses around the world. It's going to be an interesting day for sure. Now, starting off the day, hey, look, we've got some weakness going on. Look at that. You had more days, it's more 6 o'clock. Something happened, and we've just been a net to the downside. It's been a good start of the overnight. It's started to the upside, and so far we have retraced most of yesterday's little action. So we are back down here towards the lower end of the range. So weakness to get started. We'll see if they're going to decide to run down, test the lows. It's going to be anyone's guess today with all this news coming out. The news this morning, we had the mortgage applications at 7. They were pretty much a nothing burger. It came out at a little bit mixed, but pretty much the same as the last time around. So no big change there. We get the ADP report at 8:15. In a few minutes, and at 10 o'clock we get the factory orders. 10:30 we get the order report, and then I think it's at 4 Eastern they announced the so 1 o'clock our time. 4 Eastern, yeah, 1 o'clock. So yeah, so 4 Eastern they announced the tariffs. It's going to be kind of after the market really has made most of the moves. So we're most likely going to see the bigger reaction for tomorrow. But you can see we're starting off the day with a pretty weak showing, and the Nasdaq is kind of coming apart a little bit here before the open. So yeah, interesting. So we're going to see how this whole thing shakes up. But anyway, so news this morning, 8:15 we have ADP, factory orders at 10, all report at 10:30, and then we're waiting for the tariff announcement, all the fallout from there. The big new piece of news for the week is going to be employment situation come on Friday. So that's a bigger piece of news. So today we had yesterday's trading. We were way down here in that 55.30 level, and right now we had a pretty that was so yesterday's trading. So this was the Monday trading. They were down here at the 55.30s, and we're back up here again and testing this edge here at the 56.50s. We are holding above it for a little bit now. We're right below it again. We have a little mode here going on at the 56.20s. So we'll see where they're going to end up. But I mean, this overnight, this looks pretty freaking weak. They're kind of coming apart a little bit here before they open. Usually that's not a great sign if that starts happening this early, but we just had to watch the market do its thing. For us, it doesn't really matter. I would start off range bound. Bigger picture, we are still leaning towards the short side in the capital flow picture. We are in the range though, so I would emphasize kind of range bound trading. I think the lows may be in at the 55.30s. I would not be surprised if we get a test of 5500. It would not surprise me at all. Then run the lows here and try to take it lower. That would be one of those ugly moments, if you wish. And that at this point, I would start off range bound. I would keep the bias on the short side and look to sell strength for rotations back down again. So to get started, and at this point, we're going to sell against the 56.40s, the 50s, 60s, 70, 75s here, 85s, up to the 95s for rotations back down. So this was the high. They popped this pretty good on yesterday, and then they had a pretty strong close as well. Overnight pop to the upside. It looked pretty good for a while, and as you see, London closed. London comes in, and the whole thing starts coming apart. And we retrace most of this little action to the upside right now in the pre-market. So light volume pre-market retracement, not a great sign at all. So, but as long as they hold these three support areas, the 56.20s, the 10s, and the 5600s, we have a shot at maybe staying in the range. If it comes out, look out below. At that point, we are most likely going to see a retest of these lows, maybe lower. So starting off range bound with a bias to the downside. Not surprised that yesterday was more of a holding day. But it had to say the last couple of days as both had pretty strong closes, and that's a good sign. And then of course we'll see here the third day if they're going to be just taking this whole thing lower. That's a typical bear market bounce or a weak market bounce. A couple of strong days, and then you get another day down, some stuff like that. So range bound trading biases to the downside, looking to sell strength, 56, 35 to 40s, the 50s, 60s, 70s, 75s, 85s, up to the 90, 95s for rotations, back down again. If they take out that London high at the 56, 70 to 75s, I would probably start thinking about maybe a market has picked up some strength. We may have a shot at trading higher. And if they take out this low at the 5600, I'm going to be on the short side and just see this whole thing, expect this one to run down, maybe even try to test the lows there. So that's kind of the dynamic I'm looking at right now to get started. So a weak start of the day. We'll see where they're going to end up from here. But it's going to be a lot of cross currents today, so trade with caution. We know when the news hits, but this tariff thing and the cross currents from it, that's going to be the bigger thing, you know. It may also be just a big nothing burger, you know. It may be that too, that nothing happens and it comes out and it's not as bad as anyone thought, and you know, it could be that too. I think it's going to be a fair amount of reaction to it, though. I don't think it's going to be that smooth sailing. It's probably going to be a few bumps here on the road as people figure out what's going on with it. In the long term, most likely going to be a good thing, but in the short term, as everything gets readjusted and repriced and people figuring out where they stand, is going to be some turbulence, of course. Bond market to the upside, so okay, flight to safety still very much intact, I think. Looking to buy weakness, we were down here virtually testing 1800 in the overnight, and that's the level we talked about. If they traded below that, we would take off the long bias, but it held and we traded back up, and so far I would be looking to buy weakness again. So at this point, aggressive trade would be at buying the 20s, 2022s. I would probably look for the 13, 14s and the 6 to 8s for rotations back up again. If the trade below that London low, maybe take off the long bias, go back range bound, and below the 118s, start thinking about maybe a retracement trade. So pretty much trading the bonds on the long side to get started at least. Not going to be super aggressive on the short side at all. I'm thinking that they could have a shot at taking out this upper edge and potentially make it go for the higher ranges. You see the my capital flow. Where's my capital flow? There you are. So you can see here, and they have taken out this edge, this big ledge, and the next level up, it is not a whole lot here until they get up to the 120s. So I'm thinking they have a good shot at getting up there if they can extend here now past the 118.24s and the 118.30s. So these two areas of resistance, not super strong. We already taken out that 118 edge. Well, if it's 15.6 to 18, 15.16 edge, and as such, we are pretty much in a spot where they can take this higher. So we'll see if they can hold on to that or not. But that's a bond, so I would trade that from the long side of the market. NASDAQ. Oh, look at NASDAQ. That's just ugly, ugly, ugly. Look, when it starts doing this in the morning, and you have to just get, okay, maybe I should take it real easy on the long side. So they knocked it down pretty good here. And now NASDAQ is still hasn't quite made it. They barely made it up to that ledge at the 590 to 600s. They're still trading very much at the lower end of the territory, and they're getting ready to retest this. Yesterday, the day before yesterday, they were down here. Look at that probe down to in the 1800s, and that could certainly be tested. I mean, they can certainly run this lower as the market freaks out and has does this hissy fitting. That's what it does. And it's yeah, you have to take it with a big grain of salt because there's a lot of algo stuff going on, and the uncertainty is like it's almost more of an excuse, the tariff thing, for the market to correct itself. And that's what it feels like. It's nothing fundamentally in these tariffs which changes the big tech's earnings pictures in any significant way, really. And then I would think. Yeah, I would think these big techs are well overdone at this point. So tariff stuff on goods and products going back and forth over the borders, yeah, fine. But a lot of the production, and we'll see how the chip market comes out. But it doesn't feel like that's a big reciprocal tariff kind of an issue. That's an area where they really focus. But so it feels very much like those service software chip manufacturing companies are getting hammered, way overdone. But we'll find out in short order, but could be opportunities to pick some of those up at this point. So they to the short side, looking to sell strength on the Nasdaq as well, all the way up here to the 600. So looking for short setups against the 440s, the 500s, 550s up to the 600s for rotations back down, and above the 19600s. I would take off the short bias for the day session at least and start looking at maybe have a shot at trading back up again. But this looks to me like the day is starting off pretty shitty, pretty poorly, in a pretty good mood to the downside. So we'll see how far they can take it. But definitely starting off with a fair amount of weakness. So trade the Nasdaq on the short side of the market. The support areas here at the 340s, the 320s down to the 280s, definitely areas which potentially need to hold if you're going to be able to hold this in a range. And if they take them out, again, look out below. I think we may be down here testing the lows at that point. So watch these three support areas at the 350s, 300s, and the 270 to 80s on the Nasdaq. If those three comes out, I think we are heading lower in a bigger way. So we'll see if this morning weakness is going to turn into something bigger. But more than often, I'd say when you see this kind of an action going into this session, it kind of spells a little bit of trouble for the day session. But it may not be. It may not be. We'll see how the reactions come in after the tariffs are announced. But at this point, starting off pretty weak. So I'll trade both ES and Nasdaq from the short side to get started. Let's see how far they can take it. And we are down here at those key support areas at the 350, 320s, and the 280s for Nasdaq. And the ES, we are down there at the 5620s, 10s, and 5600s. Now, finally, oil and gold. They have not moved a whole lot. So gold has not moved a whole lot. It looks like they found support or resistance or a spot to consolidate that. So that 3150 consolidating. And so far, any attempt to take it below that 3125 has been met with buying. And that's why we hold it. So we've been down here in the overnight as well. The day session down on the in the overnight session down to the 3140s. It's held even probing down here at the 38, 31, 35s at one point, but so far they're holding it right here at the 3150. So I'm going to start off range bound. I want to favor the long side on gold, look to buy at against that 3140s. There could be an edge right here as well. I did not draw anything out. It's can make up my mind if it's a good edge or not, but it could be something here in between. But definitely when you get down to the 3140, 42s, the 36s, the 30s, those are probably good buying opportunities for rotations back up. And for short setups against the 60s, 61s, the 67s for rotations back down. I think above the 67s, I would probably be more aggressive, more leaning in on the long side and see if they want to take this higher. One level outside the obvious would take you to the 3172s, but you can see this probe to the upside got knocked down pretty quick. So I think the better shorts comes early on at the 60, 61s and the 66, 67s. And if they both of them comes out, maybe we're looking at another move higher. So that's how we start off gold. And finally, oil. Big repricing on potential tariff threats on oil. We'll see how that shakes out. But at this point, we're slowly kind of drifting back down again. So anything like this external threat or it's usually going to get it's not going to get continuation, I think, to the upside. This felt very much like a news-driven kind of a repricing of oil, and it's slowly kind of trickling back down again. So, but we'll find out what kind of tariffs we get on oil and what happens with that. But that's kind of where we are on that thing. So there we have it on oil. So I would trade oil range bound at this point. If anything, I would still looking to buy against that 70, 60s. But anything below that one, I already said 71s, I think before. But the overnight here, kind of find you have it in pretty good edge holding at 70, 70. So a good support area to try to get long against if you're thinking about the move higher. If it comes out, I would just stay on the short side, look for a retracement back into this lower range again. So that's kind of the way I'm thinking about oil. Now I haven't seen what that ADP number came out to be. Let me see. That ADP number came out as 155. Expected 120. So a lot stronger than expected. That's interesting. So the reaction was back and forth a bit, and then they're still showing some weakness yet. So trade oil range bound. Only buying opportunity I see is going to be at the 70s. And gold traded as a range bound right now. And let's see where they end up. But none of those has been really easy to trade. I did trade one gold trade yesterday. So when gold moves, you probably can try to trade it. But when it's range bound like this, it's going to be difficult. So let's have to be patient and wait for them to get to the edges, and then before you try to fade them. All right, back to the ES. So both ES and NASDAQ, here you have that ADP number come out. So reaction to the upside, and then back down, and man, it doesn't look strong at all. So looks like there's a net that's leaning into this, going into the open here. Alrighty, guys. So we'll wrap it there for now. So both ES and NASDAQ, we're down at those key support areas again. So we'll see how ugly that's going to get. But trading both ES and NASDAQ from the short side to get started to see how far they can take it on the downside. All right. So we'll wrap it there, guys. So good trading. And hold on to your hats. It's going to be a roller coaster of a day, I think, depending on what happens with these tariffs. But alrighty, guys, good trading. I'll see you back at 11:30 for the next update. Alrighty, guys, later.